Hi, I'm Jason Arbin, and in the Halloween theme, let's talk about some spooky testing in the year 2024. So one really spooky thing is AI marketing. Like it's getting really spooky. Like a lot of the demos are like demoware, obviously, and there's a lot of overpromising. Everyone has to have an AI story. Even when you listen to the descriptions of the AI, it doesn't even sound like AI half the time. And now with generative AI, it's really easy for people to put it somewhere to make you think that it's AI. But it's a very spooky time, particularly in AI marketing for software testing and tools. There's also a lot of problems at the conferences right now. And I think even with online classes and tutorials, there's a lot of people that just don't know what they're talking about. And I don't mean to sound like an old man that's just complaining about the new kids or something. These people just don't know. And I know because in the speaker rooms behind the scenes, I tell them I talk to them beforehand or afterwards, and they'll just say to me things like, "Yeah, I don't even know what I'm talking about, but I had to do something with AI, and I just made some stuff up." Like they're actually saying that behind the scenes, which is kind of crazy. But you can also tell because a lot of these people that are talking about AI or other topics, but particularly AI right now, if you just take what they're saying and you put it in a chat GPT and ask it if it's true or false, you'll find out that these people don't know what they're talking about. We have people sitting down, taking their time and listening, and I hope not taking back these lessons to their workplace. I think some of it's career limiting information. And, I think some people just aren't discerning enough to know whether they're listening to is real or not. But I think it's getting a little bit worse this year versus most. Another spooky thing about testing this Halloween is it's been this has like been every Halloween for like the last decade. But when vendors of tools, testing services talk about how they're going to speed up your team by X%, right? Or find 22.9% more bugs, like these numbers, like it's not, we all know that they're not real, right? And you can even say maybe they averaged it. And they kind of say that, oh, it's averaged across our customers. But the reality is mostly things you cannot measure. Like if they could figure out how to measure this, they get a Nobel Prize in economics. These things are not even quantifiable. Like they're really not. And so it's actually borderline insulting, actually. So every time I see this, I go, okay, first of all, you don't know how to measure things. And you want me to pay you to do some software testing. But what's worse is they're insulting me by basically insinuating that I don't know that those numbers are ridiculous. Like it's a bizarre, hand in glove kind of loop thing going on here. Anyone that buy services or tools from people that say this stuff, they're probably not great testers. I'll say that much. So testers just don't want to own quality these days. You can see a lot of it on, social networking and LinkedIn and stuff. Like people say this, it's kind of crazy. And I think there's a few underlying reasons why I think this is the case. One is, one is that these people are trying to grow out of testing, right? They're a senior tester. All these people that talk about this, they're later in their career and they don't know what to do next. They've been a tester too long to be a PM or be a developer, and they can't code, or they don't know how to really manage projects or product kind of level stuff. And so they're kind of stuck. So they try to act like these other roles. And so they start talking like this to sound like a thought leader, to put themselves above other testers, which is, I think, a little bit offensive. But the craziest part is, I'll bet most of these people, if you go back and talk to their teams, the engineering manager and the PM probably don't trust these people to own quality. Like you wonder why the teams are so okay with their test manager not owning quality. It's probably because they don't trust him with it. And the whole team approach is a polite way to tell those testers, hey, we don't trust you doing our testing and owning our quality. So we're going to work on it together. It's a whole team effort. I think that's actually really what's going on, and people don't realize it or want to realize it. Testers should proactively own quality as much as possible. Yeah, they work with other people, but ultimately the buck stops with them. Testers don't find bugs. Like there's some testers that don't want to find bugs. It's kind of crazy. Like this is like what we do. And I think it's again another effort where people are trying to elevate themselves above being a tester and trying to broaden their discipline and seem like they're a thought leader or some deep thinker. And they go, we're going to prevent bugs. I'm going to focus on preventing bugs, not finding bugs. The reality is that software is so complex, it's not provably true that it will work correctly. More importantly, when the system's just as complex today, there's so many dependencies, libraries, third-party web services, microservices are very complicated moving targets and products. Like there's bugs to be had even if you're not looking. They're not finding bugs. Who do they expect to find them? The customers, I guess, which some people are even okay with. But I don't think that's cool. I don't think it's good for testers to think that way. And I don't think it's good for their careers or livelihood. Another interesting thing you hear and see a lot, especially with the emergence of AI and testing world, is people that work in testing, they're usually testing software or hardware, right? And that's a technological field. That's a technology field. I think this is sorting out the non-technical from the technical people. When I say technical, it doesn't mean you're coding. It means you care about technology. You try to understand it and understand its limits and its capabilities. It makes them uncomfortable. So they're just too negative, pessimistic, and really at the bottom of it, they're kind of anti-tech. I think there'll be a big weeding out in the coming year or two of people that just are anti-technology. It may sound cool and it's easy to be anti and or negative. It's really easy to be negative and throw up stones, but it's probably not a smart career move for people, although it's easy in the near term. AI safety is a spooky thing this Halloween. Like, AI is becoming more interesting, arguably more powerful and intelligent. And maybe it won't destroy all humans or take over the planet or something in the next few months. But there's a lot of aspects to AI safety, not just whether it's going to destroy all humans. But even if it did, right? If you just do the calculation on risk analysis, like if it's a 1% chance that AI is going to destroy humanity, like that risk times probability. 1% times end of humanity is end of humanity, in my opinion. So I think a lot of people should be focused on this. And I'm surprised and kind of disappointed the testing community hasn't stood up, because this is really a testing problem. But more importantly, and even more concerning and scary, is that almost all the AI safety people, literally almost all of them, have been summarily fired or let go, or they've resigned in disgust for most of the frontier model companies this year, like literally this year in the last 8 months. This is not a good time for AI safety. I do think it's a testing problem. Testers aren't standing up either. I guess understandably so. There's no market, and it's not good for career alignment. Another spooky thing is that testers won't learn about how to test AI. There's a lot of people talking about it. And what most examples of people testing AI are, they give one example that's either an edge case or something, like counting the number of letters in a word, or they're just basically demonstrating that they're not even testing it. They're just reproducing other people's failure modes, which are obvious and well known, so it doesn't reflect on their testing capability. But more importantly, they don't understand the system and how real AI is tested. There's a lot of money and a lot of smart people focused on testing these models, and they just go off and build their own spreadsheets. Like, they think that it's just a form, like a sign-up form on a website, on some shopping website, and they can just enter values and then it passes or fails. It's not how this stuff works. It's at scale. And it's very nuanced, and it's a hard testing problem. Testers have reached our limit. And as software moves to be AI, these people's skill sets, or testing skill sets, critical thinking skills around testing, just won't be relevant. And it's kind of sad to see. But it's also really easy to figure this out. Go to Hugging Face and or type in evals and RLHF on Wikipedia, and you'll instantly be in the top 5% of all testers. So this has been a weird thing. I went back to conferences this year. I've been off I took a break for about a year, focused on technology. I've been to a few in the past couple months, and it's weird. Like, the scary thing I think this year, especially coming into Halloween, the spooky thing is that these conferences are okay with speakers and people at the conference being rude to other people, and in public, raising their voice, saying rude things, berating them, talking down to them, saying they don't care about this type of thing. It's crazy. It's kind of offensive, but I think it's okay, because there's Darwinism in these things too. People just won't want to go back if they see that, or if they've been around it. We'll see how things evolve in the new year. Some of the conferences I've been to have been fantastic, by the way, but a couple of them have been pretty disappointing. So another Halloween spooky thing about software testing is that testers are reluctant to adopt AI. Not all of them, but a fair chunk of them. But the crazy thing is that super overlaps, Venn diagram style, with the people that worry about job security. So you've got these people that are really worried about their job and if AI is going to take it, and they keep asking me these questions and they're fretting about it, but they're not adopting AI. At best, some of the fringe, when they make any attempt, they try to show that it's bad or it's not useful, or they proactively ignore it. And there's a fair number of people in our profession that are doing this right now. But it's funny, they correlate, and I think it'll also over time correlate with maybe them not being employed, which is concerning and spooky and scary. Should be scary to people. So the biggest thing this Halloween that is spooky to me in the testing world is that, and you can almost say it's a summary of all the other issues that scare me about testing, and that's that testers just don't test. They talk about everything but testing. It's weird. Doesn't seem like they're doing a lot of testing. People they talk to that aren't testers say testers aren't doing a lot of testing. When they do, they're just testing over and over again. There's not this middle ground of like people that actively test and then actively try to improve, make it more efficient, make it smarter, better. Some testers are just fine to just rinse and repeat all day, and that's fine. But even then, are they really testing? I don't know. But most testers don't test. I think there's two main reasons. One is people think that they're a thought leader, or they're kind of later in their career and they want to sound like their career is still progressing and they're moving beyond testing. But I don't think it's helpful for people to actually test. That advice isn't probably helpful for 95% of testers. And it's probably not good for them. They should probably stop talking about testing and do PM work or start their own company or definitely the reason they don't do it is that, they want to be part of the team. Like sometimes it's lonely to test, to be frank. It's scary and lonely to test because everyone else is like thinking forward, optimistic, and you're kind of seen as the person holding things down, slowing things down sometimes, obstructing progress, or, being the bad news bearer. And so people don't want to be that, and they don't want to do that. Socially, they don't want to. They want to be invited to lunch with the developers. They want a good 360 review from the product manager. So a lot of testers just kind of stop testing. And so in this Halloween world, I think the spookiest thing is that all these things combined, like testers just aren't testing enough. The trend line is that AI is just going to do most of that testing. If you look at like how quickly testers are adopting AI and how efficient it is testers working with AI is going to be in terms of actual impact versus just the growth and acceleration in the intelligence in AI itself and its ability to generate test cases and automate things and think and reason and do critical thinking and actually care. Like the funny thing about the AI is it's not too cool to do testing. It'll do testing day in and day out. So I think the spookiest thing about software testing around this Halloween period is that if humans won't test, I think the AI will start doing most of that testing. Thanks for listening, and I hope next Halloween's a little less spooky for the testing world.